Hello and welcome to another episode of One Fall WrestleCast Live. Tom and I took last week off. Crazy schedule. But we're making it happen the best we can here. You know what I'm saying? Plenty of things to discuss this week. We've had some releases in WWE. Crown Jewel was a thing. Lots of opportunity not being dished out in WWE. Kenny Omega appears to be back. Body shaming, all kinds of nonsense. Got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Can't wait to get into it. And Tom's here too. Catch you on the other side. That's the wrong video.
Welcome to the One Fall WrestleCast.
I think they just killed Chad Gable again. I'm not sure who they had tied up, but they had somebody tied up.
Oh yeah, just out here killing fools, huh?
I guess the Wyatt Six, they murder people. Remember that time they murdered Chad Gable and he showed up the following week with like a Band-Aid on his head for his murder wound?
Yeah. Yeah, and then he was on a media tour, right? Starting the day after.
Yeah.
So what's up, bud? How are you?
Good. Busy. Well, I was busy all weekend and all week, but I took tomorrow off, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine so. I'm glad you brought tomorrow up. So let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. Are you prepared for a post tomorrow
world? YouTube?
Yes.
Anything? So I'll tell you what I'm the most excited about is for the political ads to stop. For those of you that don't know, I live in Pennsylvania, which is not only a swing state, it is the swing state, which means all of that campaign money has been poured into my state through targeted ads. And if you've never been somewhere where that's happened, it is quite possibly the single most annoying thing that could ever happen to you in the history of consuming content. Like, it is practically impossible to go anywhere without seeing some political ad for either a Senate candidate or a House of Representatives candidate or, God forbid, a presidential candidate. It's nonstop. You can't get away from it. They're not even skippable ads. They overpay for the ads, so you can't skip them on YouTube. They're on television. They're on your fucking Instagram. They're on everything. They're literally on everything, and they don't stop. They don't stop so much that I hate everybody at this point. I hate everyone. And whatever point in time they stop on Tuesday, tomorrow is going to be the best moment of the last 6 months. So I'm looking forward to that. Whatever happens after that,
on that point,
whatever happens beyond that, I mean, I think that the fears are sort of being blown out of proportion. I can't imagine there being much. I mean, there might be a little bit of unrest here, a little bit of unrest there, but I don't foresee anything major happen. Nobody's going to bother me. Put it that way. So I'm just looking forward for it to all be over. And that'll be the nicest thing. It'll be nice to watch YouTube on Wednesday morning and it not have any campaign ads. That's going to be really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a really nice thing.
No, yeah, no arguments here. No arguments here. Hey, so how about I got to spend the last couple of days with friend of the show, Pat Martin.
Nice.
You know,
I
that
knew
was
that. And hi, Pat. I didn't think I told you to say hi, but yeah, that's very exciting.
yeah, it was good. We had breakfast today. You know, we shared in some spirits and libations
Very nice.
on Sunday evening. Yeah, you know, life has been good, and it's good to see friend of the show, Pat Martin. So, yeah, man, there is a ton of stuff, Tom, and like I have so many questions. Um, and I want to start the show with this one because I saw this. Now, let me mind you. Let's just pump the brakes for a second here, and let's just remind everybody that Tom and I host an opinion type show. We don't know anything more than anybody else in the world, and you know, we just like to come in here and bullshit a little bit. But I love whenever I see things like this on the internet that I can bring here so that we can discuss. And this one in particular really grabbed my attention this week. And I'm going to read the entire Facebook post.
Oh God, please do. Okay, I
To,
wasn't sure where this was going, and now that it's a Facebook post, oh boy, did
so
AI write this?
no, this is from, you know, one of the you know, the Facebook dirt sheets that, you know, chitter chatter all the time. So here it is. It says there might be a reason why talent are going to AEW again, despite all of AEW's struggles and woes. And it's not what AEW is doing. Jonathan Coach said that Becky Lynch asked for a $2 million contract and TKO refused. The key is TKO, not WWE. WWE wants Becky, but TKO is WWE's boss.
Yep.
I'm not saying Becky is going to AEW, but I am saying that it looks like TKO isn't willing to pay out for its top stars anymore, other than, of course, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk. So they aren't going to price match AEW. If this continues, I'd expect more major names to go to AEW. Now, if WWE isn't afraid to lose talent to AEW, that's a mistake. Sure, AEW might be down right now, but anything can happen. WWE let Kevin Nash and Scott Hall go in 1996, and WCW burning hot just 6 months later. It's just not a risk worth taking, yet here we are taking it.
So I think it's a lot to unpack there. Historically speaking, that WCW route of just handing out big cash big money contracts, that does not that doesn't pay off, historically speaking.
It definitely didn't have long-term legs.
It did not. And I don't know that that would be the smartest decision for AEW either, to just be, you know, the other WWE product. And that's, you know, a lot of what they're sort of becoming is sort of like the ex WWE folks just end up there. And that had happened before, and then it stopped, and we got a bunch of like New Japan guys. You know, you had Okada come in, you had Will Ospreay, but now it's starting to become a sort of place for the WWE guys to go again. You know, we just had Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, and MVP show up to be the Hurt. What are they?
The Hurt Syndicate.
The Hurt Syndicate. I was trying to. It was like they're not the Hurt Conglomerate. That's the other, but they're the Hurt Syndicate. Which I think is great. This is not me knocking that.
No, I'm not taking it that way.
I'm excited to see more of that, and that's going to make me tune in to AEW's product, because I was a big fan of the Hurt Business. You can go back in the history of this podcast. I had nothing but good things to say about it, and I thought it was cut short. So I'm very excited to see what those boys do, pick it up and run with it from there. I hope what they do is awesome. I hope they don't just be a shiny toy for a couple weeks and then fall by the wayside like the House of Black or a bazillion other factions that washed in and washed out AEW like a tide.
I mean, there's plenty of examples.
Oh, there's an infinite amount. I think Chris Jericho was in charge of half of them. Remember the Pinnacle? That was a thing for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Um,
And that
and
should have had long-term legs.
it should have, but it didn't. Just so. Is that what's happening? Are they doing an a la big contract? There's stars becoming available, and they're going to bloat the AEW roster. I mean, I
More
think
so
that's.
than it already is.
I mean, it definitely is already bloated. Is that what's going to happen? I mean, I think that would be a mistake for AEW to do that. Do I think that Tony Khan would absolutely do that? Yeah, I do. But I think that's a mistake. I think that. He's already got, he has a hard enough time putting coherent storylines on TV with the same people and keeping consistency. I don't think adding more big names to that roster really fixes any of AEW's problems. I think, and unless they're going to just start getting rid of the guys who are the originals,
Well, I mean, Marco Stunt retired from professional wrestling this week. I don't know if you saw that report.
I did see that. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know what they're planning on doing with all the people that they already have to hire all of this new WWE talent. But there doesn't seem to be room on the roster when Bryan Danielson needs to wrestle for an hour twice a month. I just don't. I mean, that's great if they're going to sign him, but where are they going to put him on TV? Becky's not going to get to come out and open a show for 15 minutes with a promo and then tie it up with a match at the end of the thing. Like where's the value in that? What's the point? I mean, are they going to come out and be red hot when the NWO took over and was red hot? They ran the show. They were the first segment. They were segments in the middle, and they were the main event. Are they going to do that with the WWE stars that jump ship? I don't think so. While I understand the sentiment and the thought, it historically has not worked out well to do that, and they may be able to do that for a few months and may be able to get pop a rating here, pop a rating there, but at what cost, right? I mean, if they double their roster size or if they double the cost of their roster, who's to say, okay, let's say, sure, yeah, instead of getting $700K a week, they're back over $1 million. But what's the cost of that? They've doubled their roster cost, so I just don't see how it works out. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I don't understand. I don't understand why we're at a point in time where we're continuing to talk about adding WWE talent to the AEW roster when clearly we're 5 years into this thing and we still don't know what our identity as a company is. I've definitely seen some flashes of greatness in the past month.
Sure.
They've definitely had a lot of great like story spots, we'll call them.
Mm-hmm.
It's been noticeable that they're trying.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of great things that they're trying to accomplish over there, but by continuing to add, the castaways, so to speak, from the other side, just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me at this point in time.
I mean, look what they are doing with Ricochet. I mean, they've just sort of plunked him in there. He's basically in the same spot he was in WWE, whereas, hey man, we love what you can do and we want you to be on TV, but I mean, they're just putting him. It's like, who do you want to wrestle? Pretty Ricky, and then
I mean, he just had a run in on New Japan.
Yeah.
Here, then sent out a tweet that said, "I'm just here to remind these motherfuckers who I am." Okay, bub. Like that doesn't like. Is that an itch that we're trying to scratch? And I think that that's where we run into some of our major problems. Is that we're letting this talent do all of these extracurriculars, and it's almost like they're never available for AEW television.
Yeah.
And then, it puts you in a spot where like,
You don't see him for 2-3 weeks a month.
yeah, like what are we paying for? Like,
Yeah.
that's great. You're out here, you're living your best wrestling life. And I used to defend Mox with this behavior, because he's just out here living his best wrestling life. You know what I'm saying? And I think that you want to talk about value. I think that these guys lose their perceived value when they're at GCW and AEW and New Japan, and then they're showing up in Impact, and
then they're on
and they're-
MLW, and
and then they're hitting
they
MLW.
win the MLW title for 2 weeks, and then they
Eh,
drop it 2 weeks later.
And
Matt
then
Cardona.
we've still got we've still got two separate professional wrestling properties that we own and care for, and where instead of watering our own lawn, we're off watering somebody else, and we're watering the neighbor's yard in the middle of a drought, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, and I think it's been a recurring theme of nonsense, really. And I don't know if Tony's just letting the wrestlers call their shots because he's, as you like to say, soft as puppy shit. And they're just coming in, they're calling their own shots. All right, I'll be here this week and next week, but then I'm going to Japan. I'll be there for a month. And then, you can be, oh, he's back. And it'll be like, well, he wasn't involved in anything when he left, so who cares?
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit? Like, I don't care that he's back. He
No.
left? Where'd he go? Oh, now he's back? I don't care that he was in New Japan.
He was only on TV that one time, like 6 weeks ago. Like, he was back then.
Yeah.
And that seems to, like you said, continue to be the recurring theme of, the shiny new toys, or like, the perceived top guys in AEW, just kind of working a full schedule, and Tony watering everybody else's grass, but not his own.
It doesn't make sense to me as to why he, like, the only person he's got out there consistently week in and week out is Chris Jericho, and oof, if there was anybody to let take those month-long vacations, it would be Chris Jericho.
Man, what happened to him? Like, working for a little bit, and then touring with Fozzy for a little bit, and then coming back and working a little bit, and then going back out and tour. Like, those were the times, And unfortunately, he kept that schedule when he was probably in what we would perceive to be the prime of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got this watered down, gimmicky version of a guy of a guy that is a master of reinventing himself. So I don't know. I really don't.
But it's like Jericho's the only one working a top guy schedule. Too bad it's like really not all that compelling of television. But I mean, that's the kind of schedule that you need to have, like, your actual top guys work. That was the schedule that I think that Swerve wanted to work, but he had all these other shiny toys he had to play with too. And it's just, I don't know. It seems like they keep squandering things too, because like I feel like they had something with Swerve, and then they pivoted to give Bryan Danielson a 6-week run with the title.
Yeah, it was a token run. I mean, it's 100% what it was. It was it put them in a position that they could say, "Hey, Brian was our world champion.
Yeah,
the greatest to ever do it was our world champion." That's what this is to me.
Yeah. But it was like his run was pretty lackluster. He only defended it once before he lost it, maybe twice.
Yeah, something like that.
It just wasn't. I don't know. It just was. And he just ate up TV time to do it.
Yeah.
It was nonsense. It buried Swerve in the.
Yeah. Yeah, it did nothing for anybody really. I mean, it might have put a little bit of shine on the AEW World Championship, but I mean,
I think historically over the long term, they're going to be able to say, people have held this from Chris Jericho to Jon Moxley to Bryan Danielson to, and that's what they're going to be able to say. He's a name. he's a name carved into the legacy. But I mean, his title run it certainly didn't draw money.
No.
We're looking at ratings or pay-per-view, but it didn't draw
Well,
money. At least not any more money than anybody else's
I
title.
mean, it's a small sample size. I don't think that that's a fair assessment to try and give.
But it's a small sample size because they made it a small sample size. Like it wasn't. They didn't try to do anything with it. They let him wrestle Okada. They let him wrestle. They let him beat Swerve, and then he wrestled Okada. Was that it? Am I missing anybody?
No, I don't think
Besides
so.
Mox, who beat
I
him?
don't think so. I really don't think so. So, I mean, I understand your argument. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to argue about this because I'm sure we're going to argue about plenty later. But you know, I don't know, man. It just continues to seem like bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. While they're trying to sprinkle in some great decisions and some movement and you know, some framework to some storytelling bits and things like that. It's just sad that we're still having this conversation and we're 5 years into this thing.
But you know, on another foot, like Adam Cole just came back, and who is legitimately a guy that everybody's excited about. He's a guy that people tune in to watch.
Yeah.
Well, they did previously, and you know, rather than him having any legs, you know, he's going to have a little thing here
Well,
that's going to.
He's got a dead man's leg in his leg now.
He's got a cadaver bone in his foot. Yeah. I just. Now it seems like a mistake if that's what they're going to keep doing, especially if AEW is going to continue to hand out big contracts, because I can't imagine where they're going to put these people, because they already don't have enough time for the people who are already on the roster. What happens when Adam Copeland comes back?
Oh, he's not coming back.
That's it. He broke his leg. He's done. That's the end of it forever.
He was already a shell of himself. Like, you think he's gonna?
I do think he's going to come back.
Do you really?
I think he's going to come back. He's going to stink the joint up for 6 months, and then he's going to retire again.
Oh, God.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Hey, I just got a text message. It said Fuzzy quit touring because Judas played itself out. # one hit wonder.
See, that's funny because they truthfully are a one hit wonder. That being said, Fozzy's been a band and was touring for 20 years before they even wrote Judas.
Yeah. Well, they were a cover band at the beginning.
Yeah, kind of.
So,
they go back to being a cover band. That'd be cool.
So I don't want to stray away from this because I still think there's more to dig into here. I think that it's really interesting that, you know, the coach has kind of found his space in professional wrestling recently. You know, he's got his little podcast thing now that he's doing, and you know, he's making the media rounds, and you know, he's definitely giving back to a business that he felt took from him and didn't give him opportunity to be in the best place. But with that being said, I don't necessarily know how much I'm at this point in time, this early in the game, looking at the coach as a credible source.
We're talking Jonathan Coachman, coach?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And he's the one that said this,
Yes.
the about being WCW and how that was. Yeah, no, I think it's a bad take.
No, he's the one that said that TKO refused the $2 million contract for Becky Lynch.
Yeah, no, I don't know that he's a great source either. Why he's not there anymore? Why would he know what?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure he's still got friends in the business, bub.
I'm sure. But
so,
Saxton was on Crown Jewel the other day. He popped up, and I immediately was like, "Shut up, Saxton."
Yeah, right, right. And I'm not here to dog on Coach, you know, but I think the piece of this that we need to really discuss is, are we really splitting hairs over $1 million for Becky Lynch?
I don't think so. I don't think Becky's going anywhere. and I think that she was ready to take some time off. I think she had anticipated taking more time than she initially took with the kid anyway. And then I think that once her all right, I'll come scratch your back was over, I think she was like, all right, I'll see you guys in 12 months or more, or whatever 18 months or whatever they figured out. Cause I think she wants to be mom for a little bit, cause that kid's going to go to school at some point, and she doesn't want to feel like she lost it all. Now, the thing with Seth, I think, is he gets too itchy. He has to come back. He has to be doing this. But even he has taken more time lately than we are used to a Seth Rollins taking. And now that I think he got itchy and he's back, I think that Becky is probably content to, take that 18 months or whatever to be a mom. And she's at the point in her career now where she could do that. I'm sure they've both made enough money that it doesn't matter if she doesn't work for a year now. And is just home to be mom with little Rue before little Rue goes to school. And, once that happens, I am certain we will see a Becky Lynch return to what I am also certain will be a monumental pop, a pop for the ages, a Road Warrior level pop that we have not heard in decades.
I feel like you're putting some unjust expectations on this.
All right. Well, hey, if it ain't a big pop when it comes back, you can tell me all about it.
Listen, and I'm a Becky Lynch mark. Okay. But to me, this doesn't seem like WWE wants to overpay for Becky Lynch's services. It seems to me that WWE, more specifically TKO, feels like the bloom is off the rose, so to speak, with the man. We've got a lot of female talent on the roster that is perfectly capable right now.
Yeah, no, you're fine. You're right.
Sans Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, and Mercedes Moné. And we're talking 3 of the 4 best to do it are no longer involved in this roster, and this roster just continues to get better. Yeah. It's created opportunity for folks like Candice LeRae, to get out there and show her worth. You've got Tiffany Stratton just waiting to be the biggest baby face in the company. You've got Liv Morgan, who's just clicking on all cylinders. Rhea Ripley has been phenomenal when she's been able to come to work, because it seems like she's hurt more than she's not these days.
The last year,
and even you've got the reacquisition of Nia Jax, who continues to get better and evolve week after week after week after week. Not only
can we just agree that Nia is only good as a heel, and that
she's a terrible babyface.
Making her a babyface is what killed her run the first time.
She's a terrible babyface.
Awful babyface.
Terrible babyface.
Great heel. Awful babyface.
You know what? I liken her to King Kong Bundy. Okay.
Yeah.
She can get the job done. She looks impressive. But she's supposed to be a bad guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
At no point should she be, and in fact, anybody that's like, let's turn her face, it should really, that person should be kicked out.
Definitely need to reevaluate their decision making there. So I hate to stay on this, because there's still so much more to talk about, but I feel like if WWE or TKO doesn't want to pay Becky Lynch, I think they're going to be all right if they don't pay Becky Lynch. You could liken this to Tom Brady going to the Buccaneers, bub. You know what I mean?
Tom Brady did really well in the Buccaneers. They won a Super Bowl.
Won a couple of Super Bowls.
What a Super Bowls. I don't know. I don't know that that's like. If she goes to AEW, does AEW win a Super Bowl? I don't know that I'd even.
They might win a ratings war.
for a week, yeah.
Yeah,
A big week. You can have a big
maybe they'll
week.
get a couple of them CM Punk $1 million gates that they're missing these days.
Yeah, I love that. That shit would be good. They could,
You know?
they could certainly use a few of those. I don't know that necessarily equates to winning the Super Bowl, but I think that would make them breathe a little easier.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think
Especially if
that
Becky Lynch doesn't choke somebody a little bit.
yeah. I never punched anybody. I just choked a guy a little bit.
Yeah.
For a second.
Choked a guy a little bit. That's what I said. I just choked somebody a little bit.
Yeah. So to keep this rolling, I think that it's an absolutely interesting prospect for Becky Lynch to go to AEW, and quite honestly, I'm here to enjoy that ride. I don't really want to see her go to AEW. I think that her place is in WWE, and I believe that I very much sit atop the throne that you have built, that she's not going anywhere, and that, she's just spending some time at home with her kid. And, obviously her husband works there, and all kinds of craziness, so be interested to see how that plays out. Be really, really interested to see how that plays out. In that whole AEW Becky Lynch segment, we talked about a lot of interesting things. We talked about Jon Moxley a couple of times in that, and I would like to expand on Jon Moxley a little bit, specifically when it comes to CZ, or I'm sorry, GCW. So Brett Lauderdale is the owner, promoter, face that runs the place for GCW. He's a wrestling guy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Most wrestling fans know who he is. So he's come under some scrutiny recently over pay scales, we'll call it. So he's been questioned about it, and he responded on the old Twix machine. And he said, I will now make a shocking revelation. Yes, I was paying Jon Moxley, a major TV star of nearly a decade, a world champion and the hottest wrestler in the industry, more money than I was paying Nick Gage for their match in GCW.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so too. And a lot of GCW and those type wrestling fans were really in an uproar this past week over the pay scale thing, especially when it pertains to Nick Gage. So Brett Lauderdale continues and goes on. He's like, yes, at Mox's request, I did end up increasing Nick's pay for the match to an amount equal to what he was paid to wrestle Chris Jericho on television. Not that any of you actually care about Nick, but he is my brother of 20 plus years, and that will never change.
I mean, I don't see why there was any controversy around that.
I have no
idea.
I
saw that, but it was like, as much shit as I give Mox, like, he's clearly a draw. He's clearly a guy people turn the TV on for.
Yeah,
like there isn't like,
or show up to the high school gym to see.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but like, I mean, money gets made because he's on the card. Like he's not chasing people out of the ring. He's getting butts. He's putting butts in seats. So, and that's just the truth. I mean, whether you like him or not, because I'm not the biggest fan, but whether you like him or not, it's the truth. Man, I can't see why the internet was ablaze about this, because to me it just like it was one of those unspoken things. Like when they had their match, I was sure Jon Moxley was being paid more because he was the bigger name.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't he be?
I was certain he was being paid more money. Like at no point did I think he was not being paid more money. And then when he admitted it, I was like, yeah, duh. But the internet was mad about it. And I was like, you guys really don't understand anything, do you? You just don't understand how stuff works. And that's really all I have to say about that, is that, like, if you thought that Jon Moxley was worth less than Nick Gage, or worth the same amount as Nick Gage, you're incorrect.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just all there is to it. I mean, I can't. You can argue with me up and down whatever side, but you're wrong. And there's numbers to prove it. So
Absolutely.
all right.
So, Lauderdale goes on to say in the same interview, the host repeatedly tried to get him, I'm assuming he's talking about Nick Gage, to talk bad about me, and he forcefully declined. Nick not only referred to me as his friend, but as his family. We have been through a lot in 20 years. The real ones know, and to everyone else, go fuck yourself. I agree wholeheartedly with Brett Lauderdale here. I think that this is just these are internet wrestling community homer trolls.
Yeah.
That's what this is to me, and the fact that Brett Lauderdale had to speak on this as a businessman, paying arguably one of the greatest, television draws in John Moxley.
I mean, certainly one of the higher television draws in modern day.
His worth, I think, is a little weird to me.
Yeah.
So shout out to Brett Lauderdale for standing his ground against the homers. So Tom, I have a really strange question for you.
Okay. Nelly's down here. Can't believe that.
Do you know who Eric Bischoff is?
Yeah, I think I've heard of the guy. Maybe I've seen him 1 or 1,000 times. Maybe listened to a podcast or 300. Maybe watched several hundred episodes of WCW television. I think I've seen this guy before.
So, for those of you that might not know, Eric Bischoff is the creative mastermind behind WCW and their iconic NWO run, which almost led to the closure of WWE, which then sprung the Attitude Era, which birthed us stars like Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. He's been very steadfast in the years following his departure from TNA and most recently WWE that he has no time to take on any sort of role inside the wrestling business outside of what he's doing with his own brand and his own podcast, and just generally being able to talk shit about Tony Khan and Dave Meltzer alike. But it's been recently brought up that Eric is going to run an MLW show from a creative standpoint.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm not that interested in it, but I mean, that's an interesting group of words that you put together there.
I think it'll be fun. I just don't know that Eric wins here, because you're very much asking yourself to set up a Tony Khan type one hit wonder that he speaks out against, speaks out about every single week on his podcast. So I don't know how this is a win situation for Eric, and I'm sure the show will probably be pretty good depending on who he uses, what he uses, and how he goes about his business. I think the proposition is fun, and I'll pay attention to it for sure.
It's interesting because I don't understand why he would decide to do it unless he's got unless he pitched to them or something like unless there was a really good pitch about it.
So I haven't listened to the episode yet. So he runs 2 podcasts off of his 83 Weeks feed. Despite the fact that he had done that for the previous couple of years with John Alba, with Strictly Business, which was a podcast about the business of the wrestling business. But he didn't have enough time, and it was too difficult to run 2 shows off the same feed. But he's continued to do so with a solo show that he's created called Wise Choices, and he had on Walter Hausman.
Okay,
I think is who.
Any relation to Nick?
No, but
Okay.
he is in the wrestling business, and Sapolsky called. They ended up talking to Gabe Sapolsky, who's in charge of MLW right now, on the phone on this show, which led to Eric coming in to do this creative adventure. So I'm gonna have to listen to the show and really dig in and see what happened there. I have not had the chance to do so yet, but it's an interesting proposition, right?
Yeah, it's a weird. It's weird. It's so like weird and kind of off the cuff that I'm like pretty interested in how it's going to work out. You know what I mean? It's like, it was such a thing that just is like, when they're like, these are pancakes, but they're made out of fossilized dinosaur bones. And you're like, yeah, I think I'm going to eat those. Let's see what happens with that. Give you that. Yeah.
It definitely, if they are trying to increase some eyes on the product with a PR stunt, there's definitely a lot of folks that are watching and or paying attention.
I mean, more people than would have been otherwise, I think. Yeah.
So, moving right along here. So Jake Roberts, on his DDP Snake Pit podcast that I didn't realize was still a thing.
It's because it's so disjointed. It only happens like once every great now and then.
It was asked about possible matches or, things that would put him back in the ring. And he says this, he says, it feels pretty damn good. I got to tell you that. I'd be interested in that match for sure. I've wrestled his brother and his father, so I might as well kick his ass too.
Cody?
Yeah. Because I guess Cody might have said something along the lines of, man, I wish I could have had a match with Jake Roberts. That guy was great. Probably put Jake over, and then Jake says this on the podcast, that it feels pretty damn good for Cody to have mentioned him or called him out, and now Jake's trying to be like, oh, I'll wrestle him. Yeah.
It's
Hey Bub, you gotta carry a oxygen tank to like the curtain and like take it off before you go out. Like, come on, bro.
Like, he didn't the last time he did throw, he did give somebody a DDT. I don't remember who it was.
I don't remember either.
It was when he was still managing Andrade, when Andrade was still in AEW. He gave somebody a DDT. I want to say maybe it was Matt Hardy. Because and then that was the only time he managed Andrade. Andrade like kicked him out after that because he was like, nah, it was my match to have. My name is Manuel. That's all nice, well and good. I feel the same way about Jake Roberts that I do about Ric Flair. I am not very interested in watching him die in the middle of a ring. And I'm sure Cody doesn't want to be the guy to kill Jake in the middle of the ring. So, maybe he should just let sleeping dogs lie, Yeah.
I don't think that there's really any necessary reason for Jake to get back in the ring and tarnish his legacy a la Ric Flair. So hopefully, obviously this is never going to come to fruition. Like Cody's locked down with WWE, and this isn't even on Cody's radar. This is just the old timer, trying to get a rise out of the boys. And I just felt that it was kind of pertinent to talk about. So
I think it's funny when people ask guys is old and is like out of as far like Like, this is not a guy that you're going to have do anything athletic, let alone wrestle a match.
Hey
So-
man, all I'm saying is he did some indie shots like high on PCP and like crack, and I don't know that sober old Jake could be any worse than high addicted Jake. Like,
I mean, he could be dead. He could take a bump and die. Or he could not take a bump and have a heart attack trying to do something.
that's fair too.
So, I
Like-
mean, that's how it could be worse. And that's probably how it would be worse.
So I'm gonna go ahead.
He
and
could definitely give Cody a DDT like randomly once. If it was perfectly set up, I think he could pull off one DDT.
Like a WrestleCon or something.
Something like that. Or like just like if he had been standing out there for a long time, like leaning on something, and then Cody came around, like hurt, I think he could give Cody, who was already bent over, a DDT if he had been leaning on something, standing around waiting for it. But otherwise, no.
I don't know, man. Like the thought of it is preposterous to me, and I just don't.
Don't do it, Jake.
So I can't get behind that.
Hashtag don't do it, Jake.
The internal belief within AEW is that Orange Cassidy could be AEW's long-term top babyface. Management reportedly have a lot of faith in Cassidy and have even claimed he has John Cena aura about him. With the current plan being Cassidy will be the one to eventually take down the Blackpool Combat Club and save AEW.
Aren't they going to rename the Blackpool Combat Club? Aren't they renaming them like the Death Riders or something like that?
I don't fucking know.
I mean, I don't understand why they're the Blackpool Combat Club at this point. I really don't. But as far as freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy is concerned, if he's your top guy, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't.
Hey man, listen, he's come a long way from, hands in his pockets and doing fake kicks, and he's not really a gimmick anymore, bro. And after his run with the All Atlantic Championship, which is now the International Championship, which was formerly the
United States, USA.
No, I don't remember what it was.
American. The American. It was
the American, yes.
Yeah, that's what it was.
He earned my respect because he was out there putting on some fucking bangers. And quite honestly, that title run might be the best title run to ever happen in AEW as a promotion.
Let me think about that. I mean, I don't know. Some of those early TNT title runs were pretty good. As was Chris Jericho's first AEW title run, as was Jon Moxley's first AEW title run. But I mean, it's probably up there. I think the ones that I mentioned are probably a little better, but I think that it's probably post-pandemic. It's probably the best one.
Yeah, I'll give you
Was it post-pandemic?
Yeah,
was it like it was like 2002-ish, right?
22.
Yeah. Or 22. Yeah, 2022-ish.
Yeah,
yeah. We'll say it was post-pandemic for argument's sake. I'd say it's probably the best post-pandemic one, or at least, yeah.
I mean, I for me, it's definitely up there, as one of the best title reigns in AEW.
I mean, it's better than Kenny Omega's.
Oh my god, I don't think Kenny's title reign was that bad.
Certainly better than Hangman Adam Page's. Good lord.
I think we can all unanimously vote that was a fucking shit show.
Great chase.
Yeah.
Probably the worst title run.
Yeah. I think he's ready now, though.
I mean, maybe now. Yeah. We'll see. As a heel.
Yeah.
Heel title run. I think that I think his babyface run was, I think that was problematic. I would like to see him as a heel, just being a dick and just like if things aren't going his way and it's like a regular match, just smacking, just getting a bat or whatever, fucking crowbar and just beating the tar out of someone until they start coughing up blood.
Yeah,
You know, just being a sadistic bastard.
sorry, I heard some. I don't know, man, but like, for me, you look at Orange Cassidy from the standpoint of being a top babyface, and like this whole John Cena aura thing, I think is a little bit much. I think that's a little bit of a piece. Like, let's calm down a little bit, okay?
Yeah,
Because
let's not call it a John Cena. Let's not compare people to John Cena.
no,
It's
let's just let him be his own guy. Huh?
it's almost like when people want to like be like, oh, he's like this guy's like Hitler or that guy's like it's like let's not. And I'm not comparing John Cena to Hitler. I'm just saying that there's levels, and Orange Cassidy's on is doing great. He's doing good things. He's won over the hearts and minds of even his staunchest doubters. But at this point, I'm not giving him John Cena energy.
Yeah, I think that's a bit much. That's a bit much. So I kind of want to shift gears here a little bit, and we're gonna move towards the Fed. But I want to make a little pit stop. Okay. This news broke, I don't know, about 10 days ago, and clearly we've not done a podcast in 10 days. And I feel that this is pertinent for us to discuss. Just simply because this is something that you are passionate about.
Oh boy.
Reported from Voices of Wrestling, and then re-reported by Cultaholic. Cultaholic. Obviously, they carry some weight.
Yeah,
right?
Love Cultaholic.
So they posted on Facebook, like 10 days ago. WWE has been accused of spreading misinformation to discredit Dave Meltzer. It reportedly concerns Kevin Owens' WWE contract status, with claims being made that WWE are using the situation to discredit Dave Meltzer. I got tipped off last week that Kevin Owens has been signed for months, but WWE isn't leaking that to their media. They want to report that. They're waiting it out because they want Meltzer to start opening or suggesting that AEW could get in the mix and maybe sign him, because then they will leak out that Owens is signed, because it makes it look like Meltzer is wrong. That's the games they play, but I think Dave either got tipped off to the same information or he sniffed it out, because he put out the same report in the Observer. Didn't he like 3 weeks ago give the opinion that Kevin could go to AEW?
He did.
Because didn't 3 weeks ago we talk about the possibility?
We did, and we said it was nonsense. And you said something to the effect of, well, Uncle Dave thinks it could happen. And I said, Uncle Dave doesn't know his asshole from a hole in the ground and wouldn't know shit that was going on in WWE, because if anything, they know who that mole is in there, and they give him false information, because Dave has been looking around in the dark on WWE news for basically this whole Triple H run. I feel like
and that's kind of the thing, right? Like, I feel like you've been saying this exact thing since really Triple H took over, right? Like, this has not been well hidden.
No. Well, and on top of that, I feel like the whole of everything has been very tight in WWE as well. When Vince was in charge, like, shit leaked out constantly, and it wasn't just to Dave, it was to all the dirt sheets had inside. guys and inside stuff, and it was all getting leaked. And when Triple H took over, the ship tightened up.
Yeah.
And we only get things that are very like Sean Ross Sapp has confirmed them, but like with the AEW, with the WWE media personnel. Like, people are only being confirmed things that need to be confirmed. It's very much like, all right, here's the news and here's what it is. They barely get to speculate anymore. They can fantasy book stuff, but they don't have anything in concrete as to who's going where, what's happening, about anything. Like, think about like just the Becky stuff we were talking about earlier. People would have but if Vince was still in charge, people would know who's doing what, where, when, and why, and how much. That's not the case. We just haven't seen Becky. People are speculating one way or the other. Oh, maybe she'll go to, like with the coach, maybe she'll go to AEW. I'm not saying she's going, because she's not, because he doesn't know either. But it's all speculation. And I think that's kind of speculation is sort of where I think Dave kind of gets lost a little bit, because guys like Sean Ross Sapp don't really do that. Right?
No.
And you've got your dirt sheets that just make shit up constantly.
Dave's part of that too.
And now Dave's part of that. Whereas that, like, he'll just speculate, but Dave trails off into nonsense, right? It's no. Do I think they're out there to discredit Dave? No, I don't. I think that the ship has been tightened, and I think that they do put out, because they know who the potential moles are. Although, let's be fair, the real ones were Bruce Pritchard and Johnny Ace. They were the top guys, right? Those are the guys.
Yeah, but Bruce Pritchard hates Dave Meltzer. I don't think Bruce is telling Dave. I don't think Bruce is telling Dave dick.
Not now.
I don't think then either.
But I'm just saying.
There's a lot of disdain in Bruce Pritchard's voice when Dave's name gets brought up. That's not like new heat.
All right. I think that
he's had a T-shirt on his podcast website since the inception of his podcast in like 16 or 17 that says "fuck Meltzer."
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't like a Dave Nark from like 1998 to 2015.
I don't know, man. I don't see Brother Love giving Dave too much love.
You smile.
I love you.
I used to love Brother Love's interactions with the Bushwhackers, because they'd make people smell their armpits.
Yeah.
And they'd make Brother Love do it.
So I mean, to me, it's wild that like we're trying to say that WWE is trying to spread misinformation. I think that right now everybody is just very much in the mode trying to catch Dave in his shit.
Yeah, well, and I think they're trying to not let the spoilers out. So I think that if they throw a few red herrings, I mean, that's the business, I mean, if you ever listen to Cornette or any of the old time guys just talk about how they would do stuff, is that sometimes they got to throw some red herrings out there just to like keep the kayfabe, get the scent on, get the dogs off the scent. And I don't know that it's specifically malicious to like get after Dave particularly, but I think they're trying to protect their storylines. They're trying to protect, it's been so long that we've forgotten how important kayfabe is. But now we're at a point where like we'd kind of like to keep the kayfabe a little bit, Yeah. And I think that this isn't, like I said, necessarily a way of trying to discredit Dave particularly, but it's a way of trying to keep kayfabe. And if you have to discredit Dave Meltzer to keep kayfabe, then so be it. And I think that's really the bottom line of it here, is that it's not a like they're vindictively out to get Dave Meltzer specifically. they're just trying to protect kayfabe, and Dave Meltzer is just on the front line of like destroying it. So like, of course, he's going to eat the shit first.
No, I think that's probably a fair assessment. Definitely think that's probably a fair assessment. It's definitely something that I think we're going to have to keep our eyes and ears open to this situation as, the year as the year comes to an end and 2025 begins to unfold going into WrestleMania season. I'd be really interested to see how and where things happen with Dave Meltzer and WWE. So, a couple things coming out of the old WWE. We got some releases this week.
We did.
Tegan Knox, Indy Hartwell, and Baron Corbin.
So let's talk about the two more obvious ones first. Tegan Knox has been basically since her return a non-player.
Yes.
I feel like she tagged with Natty in a bunch of losing matches. They might have won one or two, but they were inconsequential.
She's not Natty. You know what I'm saying? Like,
not Natty.
She's not a fixture. She's not a staple.
Right. And then she kind of fell away. I don't know if she was hurt or not. I don't think she was. But she basically was around and doing some bad wrestling. Not bad wrestling, but mediocre. Oh, the shiniest wizard. But she did about nothing. So, and then she was off TV. I don't think we've seen her in 4 months, at least. Maybe
I think it might be longer than that.
It might have been. I just, I haven't thought of it. I haven't thought about her until I saw her name on the release, and I'm not shocked. So she's not a shocking story at all. A guy who I wish they would have continued to use, but I understand it's probably over, is Baron Corbin. I think, you can go back in the history of this podcast. We've sung the guy's praises. A safe hand in the ring. Was never handed really anything good, but kind of made everything that he could do work. Solid matches, although they were all pretty similar. Didn't hurt anybody, didn't do anything egregious. A solid talker, big guy, solid worker, safe worker. I think maybe his time's just come to an end. I don't know what else they really could have done with him. I don't think they can put him back on the mid. He kind of I almost want to equate him to Dolph Ziggler, right? Like at this point, they've already tarnished his brand. Do you really go through everything to rehabilitate him, or do you just kind of leave him middling around the mid card?
I mean, the meddling around a mid card that is drastically underwhelming. I mean, at least he adds some credibility to that if you put him into the mid card, because I mean, outside of Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, like SmackDown's got a mid card problem.
Do they ever?
And where we at with United States Championship now, because there's nobody that's ready to, unless LA Knight just does what every United States champion does and does an open challenge and, just to get it out there and defend it. And, Chooch 1 and Chooch 2 come down, get beat, BFT 1, 2, 3. Yeah. To me, this doesn't seem logical when you look at it from the standpoint of your mid card is suffering.
Yeah, I do think that Baron Corbin, to your point, certainly could have been a solid addition to that and would have been a great feud for LA Knight. But, they just didn't see that. And I think they see Andrade and Carmelo as all of that having legs and trying to put the three of them together to kind of feud over that title on Fridays, especially now that SmackDown is sort of about to become the less, I don't want to call it the lesser brand, but it's the one that's worth less money at the moment. Because it fell off.
I mean, the Netflix is asking for Roman, Punk, Cody. They want all of them on Netflix. Netflix is asking for the big guns.
Well, let's finish talking about these releases because I want to touch on that too. And then so we got Corbin, we got Tegan Knox, and then Indy Hartwell, who we found out via the internet was released, and then her taped match on SmackDown aired. She was in a match.
Yeah.
After
She has
we
since
found-
come out, by the way, and said, hey, like, I knew before SRS reported that I was just being funny.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's fine. I don't understand why they would release her. She seemed to be that.
I mean,
like, the
her
other
and
thing is
Candice have been on TV for the last like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
like
every week.
in the top women's spot with Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. So
Yeah.
like, I don't know. And she was
I mean,
a Triple H,
I guess they think Candice can do it without her.
which she absolutely can.
She can, but I don't see why you would, unless it's a TKO thing where it's like you got to cut, you got to cut X amount of salary, and all right, well, I guess we'll let Indy go. It was like she was I'm sure Corbin was making Corbin was probably making more money than he was worth, and that's why he got cut.
For sure, because he was in some high profile spots, man.
He was, and I'm sure the last time 5 years ago when he signed that last contract, he had just dumped dog food on Roman Reigns. So, he was at one point the last man to pin Roman Reigns for there was 3 years after that, and so it was like, I'm sure he was making decent cash. He was the man that retired Kurt Angle.
Who's the last man to pin Roman Reigns?
He was before.
Who is now?
Who is now?
Yeah.
It was Solo.
I thought I'd get you.
It was
Hang
Solo.
you up a
Yeah.
little bit.
And before that was
we'll get
Jay.
into that.
No,
it was Cody.
It was Cody. You're right. Forgot about Cody. And but before that was Jay. So, but to move on to your point, because you had brought up, and now it's escaped me. What did you bring up right after that? I love the way you cough when you hit your vape too hard.
Oh.
Anyway, what did you bring up before that? Something that I said I wanted to touch on.
Netflix wanting Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes.
I read that, and at the point when I read it, I was like, yeah, we want all the top draws on our show because we want Roman, Cody, and CM Punk. It was like, did they also ask for The Rock, John Cena, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Kane, Paul Heyman, Jim Cornette?
The thing that I read said the
Midnight
Saudis
Express.
wanted. The thing that I saw said the Saudis wanted Yokozuna, and guess what? So do we. But Netflix wants fucking everybody.
Yeah, that's apt. Yeah, they want Yokozuna. They want the Ultimate Warrior. They want Randy Savage. Who else is dead?
There are a lot of people dead.
There's a lot of dead people. We want Bruno Sammartino. We want, everybody else. Jimmy Snuka.
Bretta.
You know who's still alive though? Marty Jannetty.
Everybody's favorite train wreck.
Marty Jannetty is still alive.
The fact that he still has a Facebook page is just,
Homie admits to murders on that Facebook page.
I can't, dude.
Actually, he admitted to that same murder on the Dark Side of the Ring too.
Yeah, they did a
They
whole episode.
wheeled his ass out there in that wheelchair.
I mean, it is what it is, bro.
Look, we were hoping that we were going to get that kind of moment on this Vince McMahon Netflix thing on the Netflix documentary about Vince. We were hoping we were going to get the Marty wheeled out in the wheelchair to the parking lot where the murder took place behind the bowling alley that he had alluded. We thought we were going to get that with Vince. We didn't get anything close to that.
No, we're going to talk about Vince here in a second too. But yeah, man, I don't know how that guy still got a Facebook page. I really don't.
I'm glad he's alive. He doesn't
Yeah.
seem like he should be though.
No. So you brought up old Vinnie Mac, right?
Mhm.
Seems like he's starting his own entertainment hub company.
They're gonna do
So,
movies and TV
yeah,
shows and events.
hey, listen. So what's he gonna do? He's gonna do fucking. Tom Brady's got an entertainment hub. LeBron James has an entertainment hub. He's gonna just be a name and money attached to a C-level production company that does
Absolutely.
that does C-level documentaries for Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet Vince ends up producing like UFC one, like ones about ex UFC fighters. The first one will probably be about Chuck Liddell. It'll be something like that. It'll be something that's so like, well, nobody asked for this kind of a thing. But people will watch the first one because they'll be
Yeah.
like, it's Vince McMahon. Let's see what it is. And then you'll watch it and you'll go, that was absolutely every bit as lame as I thought it could be. And then 0 people will watch the second one,
Yeah, man. I just
which will
don't.
be about Cain Velasquez.
I just don't understand why this is like, everybody thinks this is a big deal. There's so many quote unquote celebrity type people that attach their name to a production studio. To me, this doesn't really move the needle. And quite honestly, until he's able to get all of his other shit cleared up, I don't know how he's got time for for anything else. Because I mean, I've got to feel like that if you're not like full on fight or flight here, what are we doing?
So, I mean, the guy doesn't sleep, so maybe he does have time for it. Remember when, like, remember when they did all that shit for the XFL twice? And
Yeah,
it flopped twice,
yeah.
and then The Rock bought it and joined it with the AFL, and it probably flopped again.
No, it actually did pretty well.
Did it? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't. I never thought about it again until that.
I mean, so much so the NFL changed their kickoff rule to look more like the XFL's kickoff.
Well, it's what is it now?
Well, it's the dynamic kickoff, like it
Right.
has to land in the landing zone. And
Oh yeah.
the XFL started that. The Rocks XFL started that, and now the
That's pretty cool.
NFL has adopted it.
Oh, that's pretty cool then.
So, I mean, that's needle moving if I've ever seen it.
For sure.
But I this just doesn't do it for me, and I really, quite honestly, don't want to give it any more time. But I felt that it was pertinent to discuss. I got a couple more things, man. We're rounding third base here, so big news that came out this past week, which I thought was really, really cool. WWE has introduced WWE ID, a new program aimed at supporting independent wrestlers on the path to WWE. WWE will be identifying and developing talent from the independent wrestling scene and from top wrestling schools where WWE ID provides training, mentorship, and access to their facilities. This program includes partnerships with wrestling schools such as Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, Cody Rhodes' Nightmare Factory, Seth Rollins' Black and Brave Academy, and other wrestling schools across the country. Select prospects will be highlighted on socials. Additionally, established and up-and-coming independent wrestlers can become a part of WWE ID as well.
So I think this is a great thing. They've had a lot of success with the people coming out of Booker T's Academy. A lot of success.
I mean, you got Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade,
Lash Legend, I think.
Lash Legend. Yep.
Did Lyra come out of there?
I don't remember.
I want to say Ridge Holland was there for a minute.
Yeah, well, he needed to go back because he dumped Big E on his fucking head.
Sure did. But he's doing good stuff now.
He is doing good stuff now.
It's just the whole of NXT more or less came from Booker T's place. So Booker's had a lot of success. I feel like Seth has as well. Had a lot of success. He's put a lot of butts in seats there. for him. Cody's not so much to WWE, but quite a few people come out of him there and gone to AEW and at least wrestled well.
Yeah. Ricky Starks.
Ricky Starks, yeah, he's a star. I wish they would. I don't understand that. Not to beat a dead horse that we already killed, but where's Starks? Like,
Bro, he wants to go to WWE. I'm very much of the belief Tony's just like, well, you're just gonna sit here until this contract of yours expires, and
yeah,
I'm
make sure you come to work.
Take all your stock away.
Make sure you come to work every week. But yeah, him. I think that it's a good idea because I think a lot of good talent's already come out of the places that they mentioned, particularly. But I think that it makes sense to sort of open it up. The one con, and that I will say the criticism that I've seen online is, does this not give WWE even more of a monopoly on, all of the potential upcoming talent? And my only thought to that is that it doesn't give them any more than it does versus like, the NFL and like the CFL, the Canadian Football League, because obviously the NFL gets first pick of all the top talents on all the schools, right? And now you've got, whatever the XFL has become because it's merged, and you've got the Canadian Football League and what have you, and they kind of get some scraps after the NFL draft. And that's really what this is. And I think until there's actually a wrestling promotion that is able to compete with the WWE is the NFL, and everything else is the AFL, the football, the CFL or whatever. And, the WWE is always going to be picking the top prospects out, and that's going to be that. And I think this is more of a continuation of that. I don't think it changes any of that, but I think WWE offering money and, obviously access to the Performance Center, which is huge.
And I mean, if rumors that we discussed a couple weeks ago that they're possibly going to be opening a new facility in Las Vegas, I mean, it puts you on both, accessible on both sides of the map. Like,
yeah. I mean, if they keep both open,
keep both open, yes.
Which I think makes sense, but also that's a lot of, who do you put, where you leave Shawn Michaels in Florida, and where you throw Matt Bloom in Las Vegas, or, does that dilute because Harvard is very central, you got all the best guys chilling there in Boston.
Listen, and as far as everybody making the argument that this gives WWE more of a monopoly, like, I mean, I think that those guys in the indies that the WWE doesn't target, I mean, they're gonna wind up on Dynamite fucking opening the show in like 3 weeks. So, like, I think it creates big opportunity for those guys too that aren't ready for it.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point too, like, let's say WWE's taking the top 5 guys, but let's say you're guy number 6. Shit, you could absolutely open Wednesday nights. You could have a mid-card title run on MLW. And that's, yeah, if you're not ready for the big show, that's one thing, but like, this creates exposure to all the everything else too. Just because WWE doesn't want you doesn't mean that like you're being in competition for that, doesn't put a shine on you that lands you somewhere else. So, does it give WWE continued access to the best talent? Yes. And that's obviously the point, right? They want to have access to the best talent. They know that. Triple H and Shawn Michaels particularly know that the only way for this to continue to be successful and the business to continue to grow the way they need it to grow is to continue to have access to the best talent. And everything they've done over the last couple years has been to try to make sure they have access to that best talent, whether it's the thing they had with the collegiate athletes, or what they're doing right now, their little partnership with TNA, or what they're doing right now with this. So I mean, it's all, that's what this is about. It's still, as we've said, it's still a business. They're running the business. They need for the business to be successful, they need the best talent, and they need to make sure that they're investing in programs that give them access to the best talent. And that's all they've done.
I think it's just smart business move after smart business move after smart business move to ensure the future of WWE as we know it. And anybody that faults them for wanting to continue to build upon their professional wrestling legacy, I think it's just it's blind.
Yeah,
It's
what are they like?
blind
Oh, come on,
foolishness.
let somebody else have a chance. No,
Yeah, no,
that's not they're gonna do that.
that's not how the business world works, bro.
No, oh, give somebody else a chance. No, take it, take the chance.
So lots of good things going on, though. I think that that's absolutely going to be a great program, and I'm looking forward to learning more about it as they roll more information to us. And I hope that it builds us up some great future stars and gives
I
us
think
something.
definitely will.
Maybe maybe hopefully sooner rather than later we can remedy this this mid card problem.
Maybe one of them won't be the cousin of Roman Reigns.
I doubt that. That guy's
No.
fucking related to everybody. Guy's related to everybody.
Zilla Fatu is the next one. He's coming.
Yeah, I saw that thing. We forgot about Jacob Fatu fucking taking like $2,800 from a charity and then like not showing up to the show.
Whoops.
Forgot about that. That was brought to light this week again because he's still not paid them the $3,000 back, despite the fact that I'm sure he's making almost $1 million a year.
Because he's a bad guy. He's legit, like he's legitimately a bad guy. That being said, it totally plays into the character.
Yeah.
But Jesus.
So we've come to the time of the program where I'm willing to I'm willing to bet that Tom and I are going to disagree on some things.
Oh boy, we've made it this far.
And that is pertaining to Crown Jewel from this past Saturday afternoon.
I watched it Saturday night, but so
I
did
watched
you,
it
because we all somehow watched it at the same time.
We watched it at the same time, which was wild.
We texted each other. I'm like, how are we on the same match?
Well, I was
9 p.m.
I'll tell you how we were on the same match.
Shit has been over for 6 hours.
It's because I refused to watch the train wreck that was the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag Team Championship match, and it ended exactly as I knew it was going to.
Sure.
With, no title change, and but we can go ahead and we can make our listeners privy to our conversations from Crown Jewel as the night went on. We started off with the Bloodline match that shouldn't have been. I really
because we got the glorified house show match, and it was the glorified house show match.
I mean, there was one glorified house show match, but it really wasn't a glorified house show match because, I mean, this is a story that's ongoing, but they hot-shotted it in the wrong place.
Well, they hot-shotted it so that they could do it in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and they let the guys who are going to ultimately be victorious lose. This was the attempt of like, well, we're going to prolong this a little more. This is our Shadows of the Empire.
Okay.
I say Shadows of the Empire, not Empire Strikes Back, because Shadows of the Empire was a video game and a novel and was not a show or a movie.
I like video games.
I know you do. And I know that we played Shadows of the Empire together as children, so it's not...
What a great game.
It was so fun to tie up the AT-ATs in the first...
I played
the first level. I played the first level of that game, maybe more than any other game on Nintendo 64.
I mean, what a great game.
Especially the first level. Like the first 2-3 levels were just... Before it got really stupidly hard, like the difficulty just went boom, and it was like, wow.
Yeah. No, but I think that's probably a fair assessment. This match shouldn't have been on this card. It wasn't ready yet, but it's clear that we're gonna continue to let this pot of coffee percolate. And I hope that we don't dumb it down too much because I feel like they did a really good job telling story within this story match. The dissension between Jimmy, Jay, and Roman. And then Sammy coming down to make the save after the whole thing was Solo on SmackDown. And then kicking Roman, and then Roman getting pinned, and it's a whole thing, right? I feel like they did a really good job utilizing this as what we like to call a segment more than a match.
Great segment.
So,
but it would have been a great segment on Monday Night Raw too. So I mean, it's that's why it's sort of a glorified house show, because you can get the sort of like storyline segments, but it doesn't actually. It wasn't the final crescendo of anything. It was.
Hey, Bob,
like,
I'm just going to start staunch disagreeing with you right now that this was a glorified house show.
All right.
I mean, there's more evidence to suggest the complete opposite.
All right. Well, you're not going to convince me, but I'm willing to listen.
So I mean, you move on. You've got the women's fatal 4-way: Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, Piper Niven, Chelsea Green, Lash Legend, Jakara Jackson, Io Sky, Carrie. What do you mean house show? The four of them have been at each other. Those four teams have been at each other on all three shows
and
for the last 6 weeks.
Shows.
For the
nothing
last 6
happened,
weeks.
And nothing happened. Their titles were retained.
What happened was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
The women's tag team division is stale. It's got nothing to do with the fact that this is a glorified house show. They don't have any direction to move in the women's tag team division. When you've got arguably one of your biggest single stars teamed up with arguably maybe one of the most overpaid acquisitions in the history of WWE, trying to coax her along. In the meantime, she's on Twitter saying, I miss the days when I was a bad bitch running the block. Picture her with the TBS championship whenever, she was just out there fucking laying waste to people that she had no business laying waste to. I just don't understand where we're at here. So to say that this was a glorified house show match, I just disagree. This is just the state of the women's tag team division. I mean, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are single stars, and I love that they're teamed up, but let's push them as singles. Okay, we can keep them together. They've shown that nobody supersedes the other one in that tandem. I mean, Chelsea Green's had some big opportunities. Piper Niven's been in 3 title matches since her and Chelsea came to be. They can coexist at that level. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson have been the breakout performers in all of this, been given the opportunity to come up and make the WWE women's tag team division possibly might mean something, from NXT, where they've
done a great Lash Legend. I have to say, Lash Legend in the last year is the most improved superstar on any brand in any company, period. She was garbage 12 months ago, and she is now a competent television performer who looks like $10 million because she's fucking huge and can pull everything off with ease and precise. She doesn't do that weird stutter step thing. She has literally her last 12 months have been incredible. I think they wished Jade Cargill would have come along as fast as she did.
I'm 100% sure they wish Jade Cargill would have come along the way that Lash Legend has, because I mean, they spent a lot of money on Jade Cargill.
Oh yeah.
We talked about it, and the prospect of her coming to WWE was the best case scenario for her, because she absolutely looks like $1 million. But that only gets you so far, especially in today's product, especially in today's climate.
Honestly, they're trying harder. They're trying harder with her than I thought they were gonna.
Well, they have to at this point. They've got Bianca Belair tied up in the whole fucking mess.
I mean, she's been given those pump kicks they seem to look worse every time she gives them.
Bro, she did that. She did a super kick on fucking, I don't know if it was Raw or SmackDown this past week, and she was in those 6-inch heeled Timberland boots.
Yeah.
And I don't remember who she kicked in the face, but my word, it did not look healthy.
No, yeah, I know what you're talking about. She gave a pump kick in similar boots. What you're talking about, the super kick, was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
She gave a pump kick this past Friday, and it hit her in the shoulder, and it looked like it hit. I think I want to say it hit Io in the shoulder, and it just looked like it missed, but also like caught her where it snagged because they had those big rubber soles on it, and it was just like it was the one of the most awkward looking things I've ever seen. Like she doesn't seem to be progressing in any meaningful way, despite being, coached by and tied to one of the best in the business at the moment. So, yeah, I don't know. Lash Legend looks great though. She's doing
Yeah,
great.
and I mean, and then to continue on my rant, Io Sky and Kari Sane, man, if this isn't a holding pattern, I don't know what is.
Well, Io, so Io just won tonight a battle royal for she's the number one contender now. So because Rhea's hurt.
Ugh.
So that's
Just break glass in case of emergency.
yeah, exactly. So
And
just
then
broken
in
glass.
6 weeks, she's going to be relegated right back to the stale tag team division with her stale faction that is just her and one other person, because everybody else is either moved on or hurt.
Well, Dakota Kai has been hurt 95% of her WWE career.
And the fact that 8 months ago this faction never looked better with Bailey and Dakota and Asuka and Kari and Io Sky, and like
Asuka's hurt too.
They were big business, and now they're just they're in a holding pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't look at this match and say that this was one of those things that was put together for the glorified house show, because they've been working hard on all 3 shows to bring this match together, and this match finished exactly as it should have, because you obviously in a stale division want to try to get some sort of Shawn Michaels shine out of this on Jade Cargill so that she can be the next HBK. But I just don't know, man. I don't know. Moving on, and these aren't in order of how the show was. I mean, I forget the order of the show really, but moving on to Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. It was a non-match.
Yeah.
They just beat the shit out of each other, which was cool. I think that for what they're trying to build between the two of them, at least what it appears that they're trying to build between the two of them, I think that it was a great piece of business to continue building that story between the two of them. They beat the shit out of each other. Kevin got to jump off of some shit, and Randy Orton got to throw Kevin through some shit, and everybody got to get their shit in, and it advanced the story that continues to unfold right in front of us. Moving forward, we got Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins in an unsanctioned match. Seth Rollins gets the big W over Big Bronson Reed.
Tremendous match.
I thought it was a great match.
Tremendous match.
I made the comment, and I'll let you pick the ball up and run here. I made the comment when we were watching this that Bronson Reed has made me eat every bad word that I've ever said about him in the last 6 months.
I told you so.
That you did.
I've been high on Bronson Reed for a long time, and I think that he maybe didn't have the right opponents before, because they were like putting him in big man. Like, all right, here's a big man against another big man. And that stuff is fun, but it's fun to a small segment of people. Like, I loved watching Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman like just mangle each other, and like not each other. They didn't really hurt each other per se, but they like broke a bunch of shit in the process. And I love that. Like, that's my favorite thing. But I think really where big guys, especially big guys like Bronson Reed, shine are against regular sized guys, because Seth Rollins is still huge. But like regular sized guys where he's got, 100 and some plus pounds on Seth Rollins, but they can kind of do a big man, top guy type of match. That match was phenomenal. I loved that Bronson took another stomp on the steps, He got color the hard way. I don't know if that was on. It probably wasn't really on purpose, but it was just like, hey, maybe it'll be a happy accident. I think they got that happy accident, and I think as much as it was just like a little trickle, like it was basically nothing, right? Like as far as blood goes, I thought it really added to everything. And then I loved the spot at the end where Seth wins after several really vicious stomps. And Seth rolls out of the ring after his win, and Bronson gets up. And Seth is like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
He's like, "There's something wrong with you, man."
Yeah, that to me, like after the whole match itself, because the match was great, But I'm a big Seth Rollins mark, and I'm a big Bronson Reed mark, so I'm not going to be like, you're like, oh, in my expert opinion, like I like both these guys, and I knew what they were going to do going into it, and they pulled it off awesomely.
Yeah,
and I loved it. So they were pandering to me,
and it continued to advance their story. Moving on beyond that, we had LA Knight versus Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade for United States Championship in a triple threat match. In an altercation, a triple threat altercation that's been brewing on television now for, I don't know, 12 weeks. Between Andrade and Carmelo and their 7-game series, which still doesn't have a winner. So I'm assuming that they're probably somehow going to fall back, into a sudden death finisher. And then, that's how LA Knight's going to get his next opponent, because like I said earlier, the SmackDown mid card is non-existent. Outside of these two guys, I thought it was a good match though. Obviously Andrade and Carmelo have great chemistry together. That's been on display on TV as they advance through their story. Putting on bangers. Every single one of their matches has been phenomenal.
You said it, man. I mean, these guys just went out and they figured out that they had chemistry, and they just went out there and every week, not only were these these matches were how we say Will Ospreay and Ricochet are the best at their flippy do stuff.
Yeah.
Carmelo and Andrade are the best at these pinpoint razor precision type moves. Where they're catching each other on a bounce with a leg drop to the back of the neck, and they're hitting the way they're hitting and bouncing back, and you want to say it's poetry in motion, but it's kind of like chaos and poetry.
Yeah, it's a lot of very high impact, high spots.
Because it doesn't look like Cirque du Soleil. It looks like, holy shit, how did he hit him in that? Do you remember when Ricochet did the moonsault and Adam Cole hit him in the jaw with the super kick? That's what these guys do, except it's more precise than that and just as brutal, but kind of more consistent. It's just it's so impossible to pull off what they're doing, and they just do it. They've done it 7 matches in a row without fault on live television. Just to kind of break it down and think about it, because when you see it in person, it's like, oh, that was awesome. But then when you actually think about it, it's just that's super cute. That's not right. That's not, people can't do that. And they just do it. They make it look easy.
Yeah. And then you add the brawler LA Knight in there, and he kind of just fits in seamlessly. And,
not only that, but they still keep hitting all that stuff on point. It's mind boggling to think about when you break it down. It's great to watch on a surface level, but once you dig a little deeper and actually think about it, it's just how are they pulling this off? Because they should have fucked this up. They've done this several dozen times on television. They should have fucked up something, but nope.
No, they've been pretty on point as they navigate to the end of their.
They've missed nothing.
Story.
How do you? They say Mello don't miss. He has not missed. It's incredible. Like the consistency is incredible.
No, no disagreements here. No disagreements here. And then, obviously moving forward, we come into the part of the show that I imagine Tom's gonna try to hang his glorified house show thing on these two matches, these two gimmick matches that 5 years ago we would have been more than happy to see at Survivor Series when it was champion versus champion, and we couldn't wait to get the dream matchups, the Daniel Bryans versus the Brock Lesnar's and the AJ Styles versus the Brock Lesnar's. But because we want to, add a little gimmick connotation to it, now all of a sudden we have a problem getting to see a great wrestling match like Gunther versus Cody Rhodes, or a pretty entertaining match between Nia Jax and Liv Morgan. So I just, I feel like we had a lot of great storytelling moments on this show, Tom, and a lot of situations that were true to what the product was on television for the last 8 to 12 weeks. And we had a lot of, continuations of new fun things like Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and new fun things like Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins, and the continuation of the United States Championship title chase between Carmelo Hayes and Andrade, who have both rightfully earned their place as the number one contender in the mid card on SmackDown, because they are the only ones that anybody gives any fuck about. So I could see how you would think that any of these could just be lumped into this glorified house show with extra pyrotechnics and, anchored by a Cody Rhodes main event with a show that kicked off with Roman Reigns. But I'm just not here to buy what you're selling, bub.
It's still, okay? These are what the MSG house shows are, though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but at the same point,
this is what they are.
At the same point in time, the MSG house shows aren't televised for the world to see. And while I agree with you a lot about these overseas shows being glorified house shows, the last couple I've like, hey man, we might need to tone that down a little bit. Nah, it's glorified house show with in a big stadium, boom, 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 boom. Roman Reigns. This was not that. This was a WWE Premium Live event that had consequence.
All right.
And
it was bad blood. It was over the edge.
I mean, we can't. No.
Okay.
You can't over the. No.
It was Great Balls of Fire.
That's over the edge, and you can't reference.
No. Okay. All right. Okay. R.I.P. Owen. Sorry.
It's like all I'm saying, Bob, is like I just need you to get out of your own way a little bit here, okay?
Great Balls of Fire.
Gunther and Cody was fucking incredible.
Okay, it was incredible.
Okay. And Liv Morgan and Nia Jax was a fun affair.
It was everything I hoped it would be.
Okay, so I think what continues to be the thorn in our side, and this brings me to the main event here and the closeout, the title of our show. It's really hard for me to watch female talent at the Saudi shows.
Yes. I think I expressed that opinion as much as well on Saturday.
Like I'm really super pumped for Lacey Evans and Natalya to have broken down that barrier for women, in Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East, however you want to slice it. And they continue to do this. And the word on the street is the Saudis actually asked for more female talent at this particular show, which is why we got the Fatal 4-Way, which would make a lot of sense because the women are the future of the business.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with a listener this week, And you know, it was like, you know, it's really hard for me sometimes to just be as invested in the women as they deserve me to be invested in. And I'm like, well, you know, at least you recognize that like they deserve your attention.
Yeah.
Because they are absolutely going to be the future of the business.
Well,
And
I
you and
think that half the time, I mean, as much of a lot of the time now too, I feel like their storylines are as good, if not better, than what the men are doing. I mean, if we take the bloodline stuff aside, which has just been masterful, but like if you really think about it, otherwise, like there aren't other major storylines, at least not any good ones, that don't have women as sort of the focal point. If you think about the Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley with Liv and all that, and you know, tying in with the Terror Twins and everything, like that's the number two story, and that's great. And then every story below that too has, you know, either is women, all women, or is has women tied into it. So I think that, yeah, you're right. The women are the future of the business, and I think that that's we finally hit the point where like wrestling's cool, not just for the boys but for the girls too. And I love that because I have a little boy and a little girl, and that, you know, I want my daughter to come out. Evie, come on, Bianca Belair's coming out. And she loves Bianca. She comes out, watches the match, dances with her, does all it, loves it. And then, you know, I can tell Damien, hey, Seth Rollins is on, you know, and he'll come out and watch that match with me or whatever. And or, you know, he's a big John Cena guy still somehow. Damien, John Cena's back. Hulk, I'm coming. Runs down for that, like, you know. So I like to see that, and you know, it warms my heart as a you know, lifelong wrestling fan that like I can get my kids excited in a couple different spots about it. And you know, Ashley watches with me too, and she, you know, she'll tell me which girl she likes, which one she doesn't like, and which guys she likes, and who she's into and who she's not, and what have you. And you know, I love that too. So the fact that it's becoming more of a like not just a little boys club anymore, is really nice because, you know, I'm not necessarily I'm generally also, I've got, you know, women around me, and I like for them to be into what I'm into as well. So it's just, I don't know, it's a lot better this way. So
I
I
made
agree.
the comment. I made the comment that um, I feel like they are watered down versions of themselves when they are when they're in Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
and you know, whatever their religious law is that prevents the women from showing their skin, you know,
Or
whatever
their
this that
ankles.
yeah, whatever. You know, I'm not here to bash anybody's culture or belief system, but at the same point in time, I am here to be like, hey, this is a fucking show.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and you guys are paying a lot of money for this show, for this traveling road show to come to your country, and your people show up in masses, and the crowds over at the Saudi events are always fucking lit.
Yeah.
Um, and
Well,
they are true,
they have Peacock and the WWE Network or whatever.
and they are true WWE fans. That
Yeah.
there is no doubt about that. Um, it's just really hard for me to look at Jade Cargill, who, you know, I just said 20 minutes ago, looks like $1,000,000, not be able to show her character at the end of a championship match whenever she flexes, and like it doesn't mean anything because you don't get to see her picturesque physique
Yeah. You don't
that
get to see all
she's
those
put
abs that she works for.
years and you
Yeah.
know hours and hours and hours and years of
Imagine
dedication into
not seeing
creating.
Finn Balor's abs.
Right. You know, and that to me is the part that it's just like, you know, like, I also made the comment, you know, that Nia Jax's been looking delicious, and this was no, you know, Crown Jewel was no different, but you know, she's a bad example because she wears a full body jumpsuit like that
Uh-huh.
most of the time.
Mhm.
You know, but
It's usually got a little more mesh in it, but yeah.
yes. It's just it's difficult for me as a fan knowing and understanding like what the cultural significance of it is, it's still hard for me to wrap my head around because like women are dope.
Yeah.
Like get over yourself.
And I mean, you're preaching to the choir here, obviously, but like, I fucking hate it too. Like, I just want them to be able to come out and do a show the way the show is supposed to be. I think in the current era of wrestling, nobody's Sable anymore coming out with the pasties on. Everybody's just as exposed as everybody else, man, woman, child. And, these are all premier athletes. They're not out here, trying to show off, anything particularly one way or the other, but it's also like I'm a premier athlete. I am in better shape than 99% of the people and will ever know. Not only am I going to show you, but here's what I look like. And I don't know if we're going to get into the Cody Rhodes part of the body shaming thing or talking about that, but it's not about like this is it. Like this is your you showing off your body in the midst of this extravagant wrestling dance. It's all part of it, right? And
It's part of the presentation.
And to have the women exclusively cover up in a way that's just like kind of demeaning. Like it seems like Bianca Belair makes her own gear, right? Like she's dressing the way she wants to dress because she makes what she wants to wear. And it's one of those things where it's just like what you've done here is you've allowed something that doesn't relate to sort of lessen something that is even better than the way you see it or the way you anticipate it. And it seems to be so it's demeaning to me, right? I don't like it. But
but at the same point in time, who the fuck are we? Because they clearly don't have a problem going over there and performing, and Liv Morgan was on Chris Van Vliet this past week and was talking about her Saudi Arabia ring gear. And she was like, well, I did the Britney jumpsuit the last couple of times and I'm do the Britney Spears jumpsuit the last couple of times, but like, I'm going to bring something new. And she's like, it's challenging to have to create specific gear just for that, so I don't know. We're armchair quarterbacking something that really has no bearing on our life one way or the other. And I don't know that it's necessarily fair. But at the end of the day, women are dope. Get over yourself, man. Like I just don't get it.
I will say I hope that this is a step in the progression of it going from what it was where there weren't women on the first show to now
they're asking for more women.
They're asking for more women, and it being more of a regular repertoire that we're used to getting in WWE. As far as the difference between how many men's matches and how many women's matches, it's closer to what it is now. Generally, not just in Saudi Arabia, it's basically standard, other than they've got the women covered up. I hope to be sitting here talking to you in a couple years and being like, hey, remember when they used to have to make them cover up and now they just wear their normal ring gear?
Yeah.
And if it progresses to that, that was how it was sold to us. I think at first was like, look, we're just working for progress here. We're working on progress. And in all fairness, there has been progress. Yeah. I still don't, I don't think it's unfair to say, hey, maybe I hate that they have the women do this. Like, I wish they would just let it be the way that it is. But if it gets there, I'll happily eat my words and say, hey, I was wrong. They've been working on progress this whole time and they made it. I don't agree with, the laws and the thoughts behind it, but I love that WWE has been the ones there to push the progress and look and now it's evident, right? Like now I can see it, and hopefully this is a step in the right direction. And if pro wrestling is the one that starts this revolution, God bless pro wrestling. So, maybe that's where we'll be in a little while. I think that's maybe a little bit pie in the sky, but
we'll see what happens. It's just, hey man, women are dope. Get over yourself, man. And I did want to touch on the Cody Rhodes thing, but we're pushing 2 here, so I figured I would skip it. But to give a quick synopsis on it, Cody had been quoted as, he doesn't understand why the internet gets upset when somebody gets called out in pro wrestling for their body not looking right, when this is a quote unquote vanity business.
Sure.
Tom, you and I have discussed body shaming in wrestling at length, both in jest and in serious conversation, especially when it pertains to Dave Meltzer and Charlotte Flair a couple of years ago. More recently, the IWC and Deonna Purrazzo, and things like that. But I kind of don't disagree with Cody's take here.
No, and I think Cody's take is a very there's more to it than just what was sort of like headline picked and reported on. I think that there has to be, but like you have to be something. You gotta hit the gym. You can't be,
Eddie Kingston,
I mean, I guess you can actually.
Joey Janela.
Joey Janela was actually looking yoked for a little while there. He was looking like he was on the juice. I was thinking more Adam Cole, really.
Baby.
But it's one of those things where it's like to give somebody like Adam Cole criticism. Yeah, he was hurt. Yeah, he has trouble sort of maintaining a body mass. But like to give somebody like Adam Cole, like, because Adam Cole should be bigger, right? A little bit, and he has been in his career. He's had some injury problems, and I get it. But Adam Cole should be a little bigger. He should certainly be working on that. I think that guys like MJF have sort of showed that, like, you can put your time into, if you want to be that top guy. Drew McIntyre too, to the same point. If you think about pre-firing Drew versus current Drew, I mean, you could show 2 different pictures of that guy and be like, that's not the same guy, but you know that it is. So I agree with you in that I agree with Cody, and that it makes sense that they are in a vanity business, and I think looks matter in such a business. And I think that it's fair to give criticisms to people who are maybe not putting as much time and effort into it, especially if that's one of the things that's relatively easy to improve upon. Let's face it, you've got some of the best bodybuilding minds and talents in the world hanging out with you all day and every day, and they can certainly get you on track to get yoked and eat the right things that they're eating as well. So I agree with you. I agree with Cody. It's not exactly the same thing, if it's stuff that like people can't help or anything like that, but I think, like, as long as you're in shape and trying to do well in all aspects and be the best that you can be, and you're on TV, because let's face it, this is the top of the tippy top. These aren't just guys in the middle school gyms on Saturdays. This is the real, this is the big deal. We're paying $100 plus a ticket to be there and to see these people. Like, this is, you should be at your best. And I think anything less than that is worthy of criticism, in the same way that, hey, you missed a routine fly ball in the World Series, like, fuck you, kind of a deal,
Yeah. I don't know. It's the whole thing's just weird, because we come to the rescue of Deonna Purrazzo and Charlotte Flair, but then we want to vilify Eddie Kingston and Joey Janela. I just, it's weird. It's weird the way that the human anatomy on television inside the wrestling business is viewed, and what our justifications are for those opinions. It's an interesting dynamic in being a wrestling fan, or the business of the wrestling business, if you will. I don't know. I don't have a problem with what Cody said. I really don't. But in the same breath, I have a problem with the way that the IWC treated Deonna Purrazzo. You know, when they felt like, she wasn't in shape for her AEW debut, and I thought she looked great.
I'll say I disagreed with their take at that point. I thought she looked. I thought she looked good that
I
day.
thought she looked better than she had.
Yeah, I mean,
last time I saw her on TV.
I certainly think that Deonna Purrazzo, there has been valid criticism of Deonna Purrazzo in the past, but I don't think that her AEW debut or anything that she's done post that in AEW was worthy of any of that criticism. I thought that she got into very good shape and very good wrestling. So, like, she wasn't in like Jade Cargill ripped shape, but like you don't have to exactly, but you don't have to be in that shape. You just have to look not blown up. And I think that her cardio's there. I think her stamina was there. I don't think she looked blown up. I thought she looked good in her gear at the time too. It wasn't like she was trying to like squeeze herself in tiny gear that used to fit or anything like that. And I think that that's sort of where Cody was going with this. Is it's like, everybody's kind of got different body shapes and styles, but as long as you're in shape and fit, I think that's fine. I think that the criticism can be if you're not in shape and fit, but trying to compete like at a top level. And I think that's really where that goes, because there's different levels of it. You don't have to be like you don't have to look like you're dehydrated as well, because that's a hell of a lot. But like, look at the strong men of the world, and it's like, those guys are like yoked as hell. And if that's what you look like, great. Who cares if you don't have abs? But I think there is a balance there, because people expect pro wrestlers to look and be a certain way, kind of a larger than life sort of thing. And if you kind of fall below that, it's kind of, it can be a disappointment, and I see why it could be.
No, for sure. It's an interesting debate that I don't necessarily know that we have the time allotted to dig all the way into, but I'm sure that it'll come up again at some point. This is now the 4th or 5th time that we've had this conversation, so
it keeps coming up.
So there's definitely got to be something there to that. All right, bub. Well, seems like there's only one piece of business left. Hey, that was the right video that time.
It was the right one that time. So I'm gonna leave the other obvious one to you. Okay. I know this is your match of the week. But my match of the week is actually Big Bronson Reed versus Seth Rollins, because, like I said earlier, I don't know if it was a happy accident.
Man, what a great story.
I don't know if it was a happy accident that Bronson got some color there. But that whole end sequence for me really is what took the cake. Like, the match itself was great. I thought that, in going into an unsanctioned match, it's like, what's this going to be? But it was pretty much a straightforward wrestling match until some, little step usage and some, a little bit spread out time outside of the ring. But otherwise it was a pretty straightforward wrestling match. And I like that color, and I like the end sequence of it. And it just seemed to be such a good kind of crescendo, because it's not the end, but it's a nice like mid pop point where like everybody's like Seth won, which was the right way to go.
Yeah, for sure.
But then Bronson Reed popped back up, and Seth was like, what the absolute fuck? And so like just that whole interaction, and I thought they both played that amazing. It made Bronson Reed, I think, more maybe than they even had initially anticipated. So that's my match of the week, and that's why.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Like I said, Bronson Reed has made me eat everything that every word that I've said bad about him in the last several years, over the last 6 months. And, I'm here for it. So, I actually have two matches of the week, just simply because this match from last week with the emergency no-go. I would feel remiss if I didn't mention it because it was such a great piece of business, and that was the Motor City Machine Guns versus DIY, Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano.
I thought that
Um,
whole segment, because that match and then what happened afterwards was just what a good piece of business.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great.
And they're definitely planting seeds for the Ciampa and Gargano split. And man, I can't wait.
I'm here for that too.
I can't wait. Because Ciampa's definitely gonna get the nudge.
Oh yeah.
It has to be.
Well, it has to be because they need somebody in that mid card, and he'd be the perfect person.
Dastardly heel.
Yes, such a great heel.
Give me like prime NXT Ciampa.
The best heel in the business, bar none.
Competing for the Intercontinental Championship.
Absolutely. Competing for the US title.
Ooh, God.
Put him on for the US. Put him with LA Knight.
Give
LA
me
Knight's
goosebumps, bub. Gives me goosebumps.
Tremendous.
And then obviously the match of the week, like it goes without saying, and it's the champion versus champion, Gunther versus Cody Rhodes. Absolute technical storytelling clinic that these two put on in their 30-minute affair. Slow, plodding to start, very much a Gunther match. Ground and pound, grinding it out. Cody with some great chain wrestling and making some things happen. And, it really
I love how
kinda,
Gunther kept shutting him down. Every flurry Cody would get, Gunther would pull him out of the middle of it, and the crowd would react like "son of a bitch." It was very like
they told a brilliant story within the confines of that gimmicked match.
And the crowd they were in front of too, that was really going to react to like big swerves, like, oh man, Cody's finally getting it going. And they're like really behind him. They were really going to react when Gunther cut him off. And there was a lot of that, and it was really good.
And you know what I appreciate the most about this match? It was a clean finish in the middle of the ring.
Like that.
No bullshit. All the bullshit happened after the pinfall. Kudos to those two guys for going out and having that match and having the balls to have a clean finish with a fucking roll up. A la Bret Hart.
Well, that protects everybody too. It's just well booked in the way where it's like, because you can't have somebody be so ahead that they, he pulled it off, the disaster kick, Crossroads, a second Crossroads. Like, that's how you beat Brock Lesnar, right?
Yeah.
In epic fashion. You don't beat you have to beat Gunther because he's going to cut off your flurry. You have to beat him with a roll up or something like that, where it's like you just catch him off guard and then he gets his heat back, kind of a thing.
So I thought it was a phenomenal match, and I'm glad that we live in a world where that match happened.
Me
because
too.
It was great, and
absolutely,
I'm A-okay with how that match went down. All right, Bob. Well, I guess it's time for us to go ahead and have our retirement match here. The bell's gonna ring. It's gonna be spear, jackhammer, 1 count. Gunther's gonna kick out, 3-minute match, and then fucking good riddance.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm looking forward to that, and I hope that's how Goldberg's final match goes too.
Yeah, well, that's Jeffrey Penis sure didn't have any. Pulled no punches when it came to his qualms about Bill Goldberg, did he?
Well, Jeffrey Penis doesn't like him either. Neither does Bret Hart. Doesn't like Bill Goldberg. They should really let Bret Hart be the special guest referee for that.
Bro, we already talked about this. Bret can't even fucking barely climb the steps to get in the ring. He can't.
Well, maybe he could be on commentary, and then he could go in and count the 1, 2, 3.
Oh, he could just be bitter Bret on commentary.
Yeah.
Oh, That'd be phenomenal.
That'd be the best. That'd be the best way ever.
That'd be phenomenal.
I feel like
So-
Goldberg would be into that.
Yeah, probably. I got so much respect for Brett, man. I know why he doesn't like me. Because you're a big oaf. That's what he says, anyways. And those are Bret Hart's words, not mine. I don't know, man. Check us out over on Twitter and Instagram at @1_follow WC. That's ONE. Check us out. Hit us up. Your morning commute to work. We're a lot of fun.
We're all the fun.
To vibe with in the morning. You can pick us up wherever you listen to your podcasts, man. If you're here with us on YouTube, man, we appreciate you. If you're still sticking around, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Even consider subscribing. It would be greatly appreciated. Tom and I are going to keep doing what we do because, quite frankly, I think that we both enjoy the punishment that each other dishes out, huh?
We just enjoy hanging out on Monday or Sunday or Monday, whichever day we can make it work. And we just enjoy hanging out.
That's it. I don't give a fuck about anything else. So
no, I don't care. Oh,
right,
only 3 people listen this week. Oh, wow.
yeah, well, whatever. I got to hang out with Tom. That's
I'll do it next week too.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 people will listen.
yeah. It'd be great. It'd be great. So yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get up on out of here. Thanks for hanging out. It's all love. We'll catch you next week. One Fall WrestleCast. Yeah, I had to sneak the Goldberg.